In the brutal, beautiful world of boxing, where the roar of a crowd can sometimes drown out the subtleties that make legends, there exists a sacred ritual that far too many overlook: the staredown. A pause. A silence. A still moment where two fighters, often stripped of words, makeup, and management speak, meet in the most primal and honest form of human confrontation. No fists. No footwork. Just the eyes. Just presence. Just war without war. That's what the staredown is. And that's where the truth is told. In this world, words are often used to hype fights. Promoters talk. Networks build storylines. Fighters jaw back and forth, their voices used as weapons to sell violence. But every so often, there comes a moment that slices through the noise, a moment that is too still, too heavy, too honest to be promotional. One of those rare instances when silence tells the story. When energy speaks in volumes. When nothing needs to be said because everything is already understood in a single look. That moment came when Terence, Bud, Crawford and Canelo Alvarez stood face to face for their official staredown. It was supposed to be routine. It was supposed to be ceremonial. But it became a revelation. To the average viewer, it may have just looked like a photo op, a cliché staredown for press and posters. But to those of us who live and breathe this sport, not just as entertainment, but as ritual and religion, it was something far more potent. The stillness before the storm isn't quiet. It's deafening. And in that thunderous silence, we saw something that words couldn't describe. Something real. Something vulnerable. And something most people completely missed. But I didn't. I saw it. I felt it. It etched itself into my memory not as a marketing gimmick, but as a spiritual blueprint for what this fight could become. And because I know how rare moments like this are, how easily they get dismissed in a world obsessed with knockout reels and viral content, I knew I had to talk about it. Let me take you inside that moment, the way a real fan, a student of the game, sees it. Let me walk you through what the silence said. Because it said everything. Right now, boxing lives in two separate dimensions. One is viral, chaotic, and loud. The influencer circus. The quick-hit dopamine factory. Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is the poster child of this world. A spectacle built more for social media than sporting history. One man is defending a legacy he didn't earn. The other is building a new one from scratch. It's a fight that's more about perception than precision. And while the gloves are real, the stakes often aren't. But the ring doesn't care. The canvas doesn't know your number of subscribers. The ropes don't bend for your followers. The ring only cares about truth. Can you impose your will? Can you survive pain? Can you look another man in the eye and say, "You won't break me"? In the ring, there's no filter. No editing. No excuses. And then there's the other timeline, the slow-burning, history-drenched arc of true boxing, where legacies aren't built with likes but with longevity, where greatness isn't claimed but proven. That's where Crawford versus Canelo lives. In the lineage of Frazier versus Ali, Leonard versus Duran, and Barrera versus Morales. It's a fire that's been simmering for years, waiting for the right moment to explode. This isn't a fight made for clout. This is a fight that challenges the very hierarchy of boxing. Pound-for-pound supremacy isn't just a title here, it's the crown. Crawford, the unshakable tactician, the man who sliced through weight classes like a scalpel through silk. Canelo, the immovable monarch, whose hands are dipped in concrete and whose will has never been questioned. This is not just a clash. It's a confrontation of legacy itself. So when they finally met eye to eye, it wasn't just ceremony, it was confrontation of the deepest kind. There was an electricity in that moment that you could almost hear. Like the silence before a storm, it was pregnant with consequence. One of those rare instances where time slows, where everything around fades, and you're left with only two men and the truth that passes between them. In that frozen second, I saw something I hadn't seen in a long time from Terence Crawford. Not fear, not anxiety, but difference. A shift, a subtle recalibration of presence. He was composed, yes. He stood still. But the fire that burned in him before the Spence fight? It wasn't there. Not in the same way. And if you've watched enough of these moments, you know what that means. Go back. Watch the stare-down between Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. before their clash. Crawford's eyes were alive. There was a fire behind them. Controlled, yes. But dangerous. He sucked his teeth. Smirked. He locked onto Spence like a hawk that had already seen the ending. There was no doubt in that look. Just dominance. Crawford wasn't reacting. He was declaring. Now go watch the face-off with Canelo. No teeth sucking, no smirk, no fire. Just silence. Just stillness. First, you think he's calm. But look closer. There's a difference. There's a weight to that stillness. A heaviness. Crawford wasn't broadcasting domination. He was processing something. Calculating. Reassessing. There was tension, but not the kind you release with a roar. It was the kind you swallow, the kind that lives in your gut. And the reason for that? Canelo. Canelo is not just another name on the resume. He's not a stepping stone. He's not someone you beat to prove a point. He is the point. He is the wall. The final boss. The man whose shadow looms so large that even the best must recalibrate their brightness. This man has stood across from Floyd Mayweather, Gennady Golovkin, Sergey Kovalev, Callum Smith, and Dmitry Bivol. He's seen every style. He's heard every prediction. He's absorbed every storm. And through it all, he hasn't just survived. He's ruled. Oh, when Canelo stares at you, it's not a stare. It's a measurement. It's a reflection. He's not looking at you. He's looking through you. He's dissecting, calculating, and weighing. And if you've got anything to hide, any flicker of doubt, it's already exposed. And that's what happened in that moment. Crawford met a man who wouldn't blink. Who wouldn't move. Who radiated not just confidence, but certainty. And for the first time in a long time, Bud felt that. Not fear. Not weakness. But recognition. He recognized what was in front of him, a man who had nothing to prove, but everything to defend. That's a different kind of monster. And in that realization, something shifted. Let me be clear, I'm not saying Crawford is scared. He's not. He's one of the fiercest, most complete fighters of our generation. His IQ, his adaptability, and his hunger, they're all unmatched. But even the sharpest mind hesitates when it encounters something equally sharp. That pause doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're aware. And that awareness? It showed. Have you ever watched two predators in the wild come across each other? They don't attack immediately. There's a pause, a sizing up, a moment of mutual recognition. The lion and the leopard, the eagle and the hawk, each one understanding that the other is not prey, that this won't be easy, that this isn't a meal, it's a war. That's what we saw in that Staredown. It wasn't a contest of bravado. It wasn't a peacocking display. It was a mirror, and Crawford saw himself in it. Not in the reflection, but in the reality of who Canelo is. A predator who's already fought kings. A monster who's already buried doubts. A man who walks through pressure like it's air. And in that space, Crawford had to go inward. He had to think. He had to adjust. And that adjustment, that shift, it told a story. Because he didn't smirk. Because he didn't project fire. Because when it was over, when the cameras stopped flashing and the moment ended, he exhaled. Just slightly. Just enough. The way a man exhales not in relief from fear, but from weight. From the understanding that what he's about to do isn't just another challenge, it's a reckoning. And if you think that doesn't matter, if you think this is just overanalysis, then maybe boxing isn't for you. Because boxing isn't about punch stats. It's not about Instagram followers. It's not about pay-per-view numbers. It's about presence. It's about energy. It's about how a man stands when faced with something he's never seen before. It's about the secrets told in silence. And we don't talk about those enough. Because in the modern world of boxing analysis, nuance is dead. Everything's a number. Everything's a metric. KO percentage. Reach advantage. Southpaw or orthodox. But the real fight, it happens in the seconds no one measures. In the moments no one records. In the blink of an eye. The tightening of a jaw. The breath was held just a little too long. Those are the cracks where the truth lives. And the truth is, that stare-down mattered. Because it wasn't just a stare-down, it was a story. And we've seen this story before. We saw it when Mike Tyson stared into Evander Holyfield's eyes before their second fight. Not the first. The second. After the myth had cracked. After the confidence had frayed. Tyson wasn't the predator in that moment. He was the man trying to remember how to be one. And Holyfield, he knew. He saw it. He walked through it. And that's the danger of these moments. Because when you meet someone who's already walked through your fire and didn't burn, you think twice. That's what Canelo brings. He brings gravity. He bends the space around him. And Crawford felt that. Not as defeat, but as recognition. And that recognition, that's what makes this fight terrifying. Because now both men know. Crawford knows he's facing someone unlike anyone else. And Canelo knows Crawford felt it. That's the loop. That's the echo chamber. That's where the real battle lives, and the spaces between the noise and the silence that screams. And when this fight finally happens, when the bell rings and the gloves fly, it won't just be skill on display. It'll be that moment. That stare-down. That pause. That breath. That tiny, invisible shift that changed everything. Legacy fights are never just about the fight. They're about everything that leads to it. The rituals. The routines. The rehearsals. The moments when the camera catches something it wasn't supposed to. When a fighter turns off his performance and lets something real slip through. And in that stare-down, something slipped. Something honest. Something true. And that truth. This is why this fight matters. It's why we watch. It's why we remember. Because it's not just about punches, it's about presence. And presence, that's what wins wars before they begin. And that's what this is. A war. Not between Crawford and Canelo. But between silence and understanding. Between myth and man. Between perception and reality. Oh. Watch that stare down again. Not with your eyes, but with your instinct. And maybe you'll see what I saw. Not weakness, but transition. Not fear, but respect. Not dominance, but depth. This fight is coming, and it's going to be hell, because both men already know what they saw, and neither can unsee it.